Hello everyone, today I bring you another episode of the Journey to National Master. This is gonna be the game of round 8, my HS Open 2023. This was the last round I played of this tournament. I didn't end up playing round 9. So in this round I got paired up against Andreas Lagozis, a 1931 rated player. He was Greek. And for this one I had some crazy preparation lined up for him. So he started with e4, I went e5. Already something that is not very usual, but as I said, this was part of the preparation. He went knight f3, knight c6, and here he played c3, which is the Ponziani. And this is not the greatest variation to play against e5, but it can be tricky and you don't see it that often. At least in OTB, I don't think you see this that often. So okay, here I went knight f6, he went d4, I took the pawn on e4, and now my opponent played d5, which makes sense. He just kicks my knight, attacks my knight to remove the defender of e5. But now the chaos starts and the variation will become very, very sharp and intense. Here, instead of moving the knight, I decided to play bishop c5, which is a piece sacrifice, which is the most critical line against the Ponziani. And I guess you can call this the refutation of the Ponziani, because if you can get away with sacrificing a piece and be slightly better as black on move like 5, yeah, the opening is not that good. But okay, let's see what happened. Okay, my opponent, of course, he took the knight. What else could he do? I took on f2 with the bishop, with check, he placed king e2, and now I go back to b6 with the bishop. And now if we pause for a second, so okay, my opponent is up a knight, but I have 2 pawns for the knight, okay, 2 pawns. Technically, my opponent could take if he won this pawn back, but it's not really a good idea here, because I can just castle and this position is horrible. He's already completely losing. So technically here I'm up 2 pawns for a knight. So yeah. And he also has the king in the middle and he can't castle anymore. His king is blocking his bishop. His pieces are still quite passive except for the knight. I have 2 pieces developed. And I can still castle, which is important to note. I can still castle, and if I get to castle, here my opponent played queen d5, which is the best move. And I played knight f2, which I still remember the preparation. This was still all book. And my opponent, I don't think he was prepared. He might have seen this line before, because I mean he always played the Ponziani in his games against e5. So, but I think he hasn't faced this OTB or in a very long time, And yeah, he was spending a lot of time on the clock. I almost had all my time. I bluffed a little bit. I like to bluff a little bit, even though I'm prepared. I like to bluff, spend a little time just making some faces making some faces I don't know, maybe I should do maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that, just to troll honestly. But yeah, he was already spending at least half an hour in these first 10 moves. He spent half an hour, and I still had 1 hour and 25 minutes, something like that. It was crazy. Okay, after knight f2, my opponent played bishop e3, which took me out of preparation, I have to be honest. The best move here, which kind of maintains equality, is either rook g1 here, defending the rook, or c takes on b7 is also good. But my opponent went for bishop e3, which is not that good. And here I started thinking. I took the rook on h1, which I feel like it's the only move, That's why I went with the knight on f2. Here my opponent took on e5. And here, of course, I just play king f8. And because I don't want to trade queens. And this position is absolutely crazy. The computer already thinks that black is much better, and I can definitely understand. Just look at white's king in the middle, and you know, I still am up materially technically because this knight is still alive. And you know, if I can play f6, bring the other rook in, it's gonna be a long day for my opponent, honestly. But okay, after king f8, my opponent played bishop d4, which feels like a very weird move. And here I missed a chance to be very, very, very much better and like completely winning. I played the natural bishop takes on d4 here. My opponent played queen takes on d4, but I had a very, very nasty move here, very little nasty move, which was this f6. F6 it's a really, really nice move because it forces the queen off this file. I mean, okay, technically my opponent can still play queen e3, but after something like d takes on c6, this is not looking good, you know. This is not looking good at all. If I can manage to move my king and put a rook on e8, it's gonna be very, 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 very bad for my opponent. And yeah, like it's amazing. But let's say after like f6, if my opponent played like queen f4, which feels more human because you're not pinning yourself in the future. Here I could play even like queen e7 check, let's say king d2 or king d1 maybe, d takes on c6, and the bishop is coming next, another rook. Like, it's just over, it's just absolutely over. But I missed f6. I went for the more you know, more natural and easier to calculate bishop takes on d4, queen takes on d4, and here I played b takes on c6, which the computer hates. The computer really wants me to play either queen e7 check or h5, which is kind of a very nice move to develop the rook this way via rook lift, which I didn't even think about. But yeah, queen e7 check would be nice because, okay, if my opponent plays queen e3 here, I can, honestly, here I probably can and should allow the queen trade. I don't want to trade myself and waste a tempo, but I could play like something like b takes on c6, queen takes on e7 check, king takes on e7, and here, yeah, this feels like very, very good for black with very nice chances, you know, bringing the rooks quite fast to the e and d files. And yeah, my opponent still has to waste time, you know, capturing this knight, and it's not so simple. It will take time, you know, because of this poor coordination of pieces. But yeah, I didn't go for queen e7 check. I just took the pawn here. My opponent played king d2. I played d6, trying to develop my light square bishop. He played knight a3, which I felt like was kind of, yeah, it was like kind of weird move, but it is literally the only way to develop the knight. So yeah, here I played c5, which is a bad move again. I should have played queen f6 apparently, but this is a very hard move to play. I mean, I don't think I would ever play this or find this, because in order for you to play queen f6, you have to understand that this endgame is good for black, which I don't have enough skill to see it that way. But okay, the more I look at it, even though I have two doubles, this like two stacks of double pawns, because my opponent took the king from e2, now I'm threatening to, you know, leave with the knight here. Actually, after queen f6, my opponent shouldn't even trade queens. He should go queen g1, and I kind of gained the tempo with the queen, developing my queen, and now I have a couple options like queen f4 check, maybe develop the bishop, bring a rook to the center, and yeah. I missed that actually my opponent couldn't really trade queens here, because even if he plays like king e2 back to trap my knight. I mean, he's wasting way too much time. But yeah, it's kind of hard to have these double pawns and to see the long-term advantages of you know, that move, queen f6. It's not an easy move in my opinion to find. But yeah, okay, I played c5. My opponent played queen e3, so my opponent is kind of consolidating, which isn't good for me, because yeah, if he can actually just bring his pieces and hide his king, I don't think I'm better at all. Here I played rook b8, developing the rook, attacking b2, played b3, I played bishop e7, finally developing this bishop. He played bishop e2, and here I played queen f6. So yeah, I ended up playing queen f6, but now it is not as impressive. He played bishop b5, which, yeah, it's kind of annoying, honestly, because he's not letting me have a rook on e8, which I kind of want to. And here I ended up playing c6, which is very ugly because I'm blocking my own bishop, but I think it is kind of necessary to put a rook on e8, so I rather block my bishop and have the e8 square than not. So okay, he goes back to d3, and here I play rook e8, he goes queen g1, and okay, here I realized I'm gonna lose the knight. I'm gonna be up some material, but it's not that simple because, you know, I'm up an exchange, but the pieces can be better than the rook in certain positions, especially with queens off the board. I think that the rooks become way weaker in this type of middle games. So okay, here I played queen f4 check, just annoying him. He played king c2, and here I played g5, which is actually a big blunder, which my opponent could have punished with rook f1. And the point is that if I go g4 here, my opponent can go knight h4, you know, discover attack on my queen, and now, okay, I can still survive with queen g5, but knight f5, and this is becoming very ugly very quick. My opponent is attacking d6, and yeah, the pressure on f7 can become very tough to deal with. Let's say rook e6 here, queen takes h1, and I think that now I'm actually trying to survive and not get mated, because yeah, this is not easy at all. But okay, my opponent missed rook f1, he just took the knight, which is more natural. Here I push g4. Yeah, now rook f1 doesn't really work because I take the knight. So my opponent played knight d2, I played d5, and he played queen g1 attacking c5. Here I played queen e3, which it was kind of a tough decision to make, but in the end I feel like, if, you know, there's no real good way to protect this pawn. If I go back with the queen, this is very passive, and yeah, I don't really want to push c4 now. Like, the pawn on a7 is hanging, and you know, I will forever have double pawns probably. So yeah, I mean, this is the best move, queen e3, but it's kind of a failure to play this move after the position earlier. This really means that I couldn't find a way to properly attack and to put pressure on my position. After takes, and rook f1, I already prefer white, honestly. I prefer white even though I'm up in material. I don't think it means that much because the pieces will prove to be better than a rook here. And my pawn structure kind of sucks, honestly. My pawns are isolated, doubled, and all over the place. So yeah, this is not a good look anymore. But at this point, I played king g7, and I had a lot of time on the clock. I had like 50 minutes on the clock, and my opponent was already like below 10 minutes. I want to say that was below 10 minutes. So yeah, I had a huge time advantage, and I was really trying to just flag my opponent and put pressure on him and make him do a crucial mistake before the time control, because after move 40 we get an additional 30 minutes. So yeah, I was trying to play with his clock. He played c4, I played rook e8, he played knight b1, and yeah, here I was already running out of moves, useful moves. I didn't really know what to do, honestly, because it's really hard to play with the rooks here when he has everything covered so well, and his king is perfectly safe now that we don't no longer have queens on the board. Here I played rook e1. It would be nice if he traded rooks with me. I think it would, you know, be very good for me, but of course he's not gonna do that. He's gonna play rook f4, putting pressure on g4. I play bishop c8, you know, defending the pawn and rerouting my bishop to a better diagonal. He played g3 here, and I played rook e3. Yeah, I was really struggling with a plan and to make a move here. This is not a good position for black, even though the computer calls it equal. I would definitely prefer to be white here. He played knight c3, which makes sense. Now he's putting a lot of pressure on d5, and so I decided to play d takes on c4, which is a big mistake. Yeah, the computer says rook e5. Yeah, this just feels like I'm very close to having my my like rook trapped. In knight d1 here, I still have rook e1. Yeah, this is, yeah, I almost have my rook trapped. It's kind of crazy. And also d4 would probably be better than d takes on c4, but I don't remember why I didn't really like this move. But yeah, I ended up taking on c4. He took with the bishop, and now he's putting pressure on f7. My pawns are forever doubled. Yeah, this was already like not a good decision for me, but the position was already hard. I played f5. He played knight a4, attacking c5. I played rook e5, protecting c5, and now we are on move 33, and we are almost reaching time control. At this point, as I said, I still had like 40 minutes, something like that. He had like probably like 5 minutes on the clock, and here my opponent played knight b2. I played king f6. He played knight d3, which I completely missed. Now I'm losing the pawn on c5. Started thinking a lot. I started thinking like, okay, I'm definitely not gonna flag him because this position is way too easy to play for white. And now I'm actually gonna try not to lose this game before I reach time control. I don't want to get a losing position. And I started thinking and thinking and spending my time, and I finally played rook e7. He took on c5. I played king g5. He played rook d4, and this is so bad for me because like I have no active plan. Like I'm literally just trying to hold on. I played h5, which is a big blunder. That almost loses the game on the spot. My opponent found the best move here, rook d8. Even with little time on the clock, he found rook d8, which is no, makes sense, attacking the bishop on c8. And yeah, there's a very nasty trap here. There's only one like good move here to try to hold on, which is rook c7, but this looks super ugly and passive. Also allows all these checks here on the back rank, and yeah, I played the normal looking rook e8, and I think I got super lucky here because my opponent didn't see the winning move. He had like 2 minutes on the clock by now, or yeah, 2 minutes on the clock probably, so it's kind of hard to see it with that type of time on the clock. But here my opponent has a winning move that wins the game on the spot. I want you guys to try to find the move and write down in the comment section down below. So yeah, the move here that my opponent played was rook d6, which blunders the advantage. Now the position is equal. But the winning move here, there's two winning moves with the same idea, but the winning move is the nasty knight e4 check. It doesn't matter if you check with this knight or with this knight, it's the same idea. Basically, this knight sacrifice is a tactic to disconnect the rooks. Because now, okay, if I take with the rook, he of course takes my rook with the knight, and now I'm screwed because I just lost a piece. If I take with the pawn, he takes my rook. So yeah, that doesn't work. If I take the knight, he takes the bishop, and in the end, he's up a piece. So yeah, I'm losing. And the crazy part about this tactic is that if I take with the pawn here, he takes my rook and he's completely winning. So yeah, this was actually a beautiful tactic. Knight e4 check, which would be the knockout punch. But my opponent in time trouble didn't find it. He played rook d6, which is of course inferior. Going after this pawn here on c6 allows me to escape, and I found the only move that escapes this position, which is f4. Very important, giving some breathing room to my king. Here he took on f4, I took with the king, and yeah, we reached time control. So we got a bonus 30 minutes on the clock. He played knight d3 check, I played king g5, and my opponent took on c6 here. I played bishop f5, putting pressure on the knight here, and he played knight f1. I played rook e2 check, he played king c3, and here I ended up playing rook c8 after a long time thinking. Yeah, he played rook a6, not wanting the rook trade, which I think makes sense for him. I think he's the one actually putting pressure on me. Here I just played bishop d3, trying to trade pieces to simplify the position as much as I can. He took with the king here, and I played rook f2, just putting pressure on this knight on f1. He played rook a5 check. I played king f4, which is apparently a mistake. I should have gone king h4, which looks very, very ugly. Honestly, this looks very ugly to put the king here on the box. But yeah, this would be better than what I did. Apparently, king f4 allows knight g3 with pressure, which my opponent played. And now I played rook d8 check. My pawn went to c3, king c3, and I took the pawn on h2. Played knight takes on h5 check, and I played king e3. And here, after king e3, my opponent played rook g5, and here I have to be honest, I completely froze. I didn't know what to do. I was in panic mode. I was really like, I couldn't believe that I choked such a good opening position, and I started getting very, very tired. And basically, I spent all my time in my next move because I really didn't know what to do. It felt like very dangerous, and it felt like, okay, if I lose this pawn on g4, I'm pretty much lost because this is my only hope to get counterplay. Also, it's my king is like in the middle of nowhere. these pieces can be very tricky. This knight especially can give me a fork, and just I lose a rook, I lose the game. I can get caught in some mating net, and yeah, it's not easy at all. It's very very tough to play this for black, I think. And I didn't know what to do. I couldn't see any good move, any move that actually made sense to me. I felt like every move had a drawback, and it's kind of true. And I was just super tired. I couldn't come up with anything. I went from like 20 minutes to down to like 4 minutes on the clock here. Literally, I went from 3 minutes to 4 minutes on the clock, and my opponent still had like 19 minutes, 18 minutes. He just took over the time advantage completely. And we were already playing for, I want to say, like 3 hours and 3 hours and some minutes here, or 3 hours and a half at this point. We were playing for a long time here. I ended up playing rook h4. I almost forced myself to move because I was just gonna flag if I didn't move. I spent like 16 minutes on this move, and yeah, I was just in complete shock. I just didn't know what to do. Here my opponent played knight f6, and I again I spent a long time trying to figure out what I should do, and with like a minute on the clock, I ended up playing uh king f4, attacking this rook here. And my opponent, I feel like my opponent made a very big mistake, practically speaking. He took on g4, which just simplifies the position into a easy draw. uh yeah, we trade everything on g4, and now this is a easy draw. I could draw this with 5 seconds on the clock for each move. Yeah, it's not hard at all. If my opponent had like way more time than me, had like 15 minutes, 14 minutes maybe, like I had 1 minute literally. If he played a move like a rook g7, I think I would have lost the game, because this move keeps the tension here and keeps all the pieces on the board. It makes me uh way less comfortable, and I had to make a move fast, and I could easily blunder some things. Like the only move here to keep equality is g3, for example, but after 95 check, I have to move my king. Where do I move my king? King f3, rook f7 check. This, okay, maybe my opponent was a little bit scared of this pawn just queening, and okay, if the pawn queens, he loses, but I mean, it's gonna be hard to queen this pawn, I feel like. But okay. Also, my opponent wasn't too confident about his position. Maybe he was also very tired. He also just wanted to probably go home because we were playing for almost 4 hours, and yeah, it was a very tough game for him and for me. So yeah, my opponent, okay, just traded everything. And yeah, the rest is pretty simple. I just have to keep. I can't lose this pawn. That's the only thing that's really maintaining my position together. If I don't lose this pawn, I'm all right. If my opponent eventually would trade, this pawn for this pawn and keep this pawn, I can always just sacrifice the rook for the pawn in last case scenario if I need to draw, because king and bishop versus king is a draw. So yeah, I wasn't scared at all. I wasn't worried at all. I just brought my king. And yeah, I just checked here, and he asked for the draw, and I agreed. There's nothing to play here for, and we ended up getting a draw here, which actually, what a game. This was a roller coaster of a game. Very nice opening, very, very sharp. And okay, we survived. And yeah, this game was insane, but yeah, I mean, very nice, very nice. In the end, the tournament went pretty well. I won over 30 points of elo. Of course, the win against the 2100 was very important, a very big milestone for my chess career. And yeah, I was very happy with the tournament, honestly. Like 30 plus points is way better than all my previous results in this summer of 2023. So yeah, I was looking forward to the rest of the year, which I played two more tournaments that I'll no, actually three more tournaments that I'll show in this channel. And then we'll get to 2024, which I'll talk about it in future episodes. So thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.